Hello everyone. Today I'm in conversation with Preeti Suri, who's at Coventry University, and we're going to talk about several aspects of her experience with virtual exchange. But before we get stuck in, Preeti, please introduce yourself and tell us what you're studying and your role.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Preeti and originally I'm from India, but right now I'm living in UK. And I have finished my master's in English language teaching and applied linguistics from Coventry University last year. And then right now I'm doing PhD at Coventry University with my research center is global learning. So yeah, that's me.
We'll get on to that later. Now,
Mhm.
Preet, it was Marina Orsini who put me in touch with you, and we've talked to her about this project, Female Voices in the Third Space. What's your experience been of being involved in this project? What was your role, and why were you involved in that?
First, my role was like a student, like any other student there in our class. It was kind of mandatory session with one of our module that was theories and methods of English language teaching. So there I first participated as a student, and it was quite wonderful experience because it was my first time involving in virtual exchange and it was quite new. But when I when I attended first session, it was quite eye-opening session for me and I really felt safe because earlier I was just a bit nervous, because I'm non-native speaker, right? So I was like, oh, I have to face so many people, English speaking people. So how would I feel comfortable? But then slowly my experience there was so great. I felt like included. And then later on, I was given opportunity to be a mediator, like facilitator, in the next session. Yeah.
Let me just take a step back. Can I just clarify? You're training to be an English language teacher, aren't you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was in that capacity that you were involved in Female Voices
Yeah.
in the Third Space.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the idea is or behind it, or the theory behind it, is that women who maybe have not got a space to express
Mhm.
themselves truly and authentically, this kind of virtual exchange is an idea to create that third space. So how did that work for you? Did that work for you? And what was your experience of this? You were mentioning it, you felt safe and included, and you were nervous initially. So how did these theories behind this third space impact on you?
Maybe it's quite, I think, coming from like a background. I'm not, let me clear it first. Like, it's not the perspective. It's just my perspective I'm sharing. It's not applicable to everyone. But coming from the background where, women, they don't feel that they have voice. And, when you are in a society like patriarchal society. So, coming from that background and then just, involve yourself where your voice, is being heard and people are curious to know about your role like because I have an experience of teaching English back in India for around 10 years and for us there it's like I never say no, it's kind of like something I am like contributing to academics, but when I came here they respect that, they value that in that session and they were eager to know how it is being to be like an English teacher in India when you have multi languages there, so how it works. And they give us opportunity equally to everyone to participate in the breakout rooms, like not in the main session, but when we were put into the breakout rooms, our facilitator make sure that everyone take part, not based on gender, so
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, that's where I felt like, okay, I can share my experience and people are eager to learn from me as well. Yeah.
So you mentioned you felt nervous and you were worried about being a non-native speaker. So
Yeah.
when you first began the project, so what happened to you mentioned the breakout rooms and everything. So how was it structured, and when was that moment that you began to feel, oh, it doesn't matter, I can express myself, I'm heard? When was that moment? Can you
Yeah, that's
describe
really
it?
nice. That's really because look, when we were told that we are going to have virtual exchange, I didn't know what exactly is going to happen there, right? And honestly, that was my first time I knew that there's a breakout room kind of thing as well. Even though I was familiar with Zoom, like because of online teaching there back in India, but we never used breakout rooms. So I was like, oh, students are coming from different countries like, UK, Brazil, Sri Lanka, and all those. I'm like, oh, what if someone asks me a question? So I'm going to respond to so many people, like, but then they asked us to go into the breakout rooms where were like people were from different countries, like 4 or 5 people there. And then facilitator said he was the one who was taking initiative to speak first and tell us, okay, so this is gonna be about, okay, so let me begin with myself, my experience. So he makes sure that we feel comfortable. And
Okay.
then they give us this opportunity. If you don't want to turn on the cameras, it's okay, take your time. If you feel like you want to just write, you write in the chat. There's no need to just turn on the mic and start speaking. So that way, when there was like small group, and when we felt okay, so we can start. And then when I saw everyone, like, different accents, everyone was struggling with the same thing. Like, it's not like, oh, this Indian English or that English, but it was like, you can be comfortable with your English. So I was
There's
like, oh,
many
wow.
Englishes.
Yeah, so many Englishes. They were like, wow, it's okay. So I always say after that virtual exchange, my first virtual exchange experience, it's okay not to be okay sometimes, So
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
go
yeah.
there if you're not feeling okay. So it's okay because everyone is quite having the same experience there.
Right. So you're
So
all out of your comfort zones and you're
yeah,
all experiencing the same nervousness. So once you realize that, everyone begins to
yeah,
relax and share more. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So in Marina's interview, she was
yeah.
saying that the project aims to question the assumptions on virtual exchange. How does it do that? Does it do that by what you were saying before and using the breakout rooms and allowing everyone time to speak and be heard?
Well, so many students at that time, like, they didn't even know how these things work. So we were automatically sent into the breakout rooms. Look, these virtual exchanges help us to foster our digital literacy as well.
Mm,
So, and it's very important component today in teacher education,
right.
no matter where you are. But there were, of course, some technical glitches and all those things were there. But then there were so trained people, like mediators were there, like
Yes.
professors or who have had great experience already to support us. So to make sure that we don't feel nervous. So there was nothing like that. Oh, this is right answer or this is wrong answer. So we were feeling comfortable because there were a few activities before, like icebreaker activities.
Yes.
We introduce ourselves on Padlet, so it was not just like that Zoom meeting was the only thing that they were using. So there were other mediums that we were using to
Mm.
interact with each other to
So
know.
you're building
Yeah.
relationships
So
before
yeah.
you actually
So
start on.
synchronous or asynchronous sessions were there so that we feel comfortable knowing each.
Mm.
And because of that session, like I realized how important it is to have networking and collaboration. Because earlier I have never thought that way. Maybe because of the mindset we were having, okay, we are comfortable with our own group of people there.
Right.
So it's okay. But then that was quite new. And it was not like just throwing us in the deep ocean. No, it wasn't like that. There were people supporting us
Mm.
and make sure that we achieve the learning outcomes as well. Because we were given a task, pre-task before, going into virtual exchange. We have to read and like, for example, decolonization of English language.
Yes.
So we have to read the article, we have to come up with the questions, and then facilitator will ask us, and there was a scriber, like, one of the group members will volunteer to write on a Padlet, and the other one will take initiative to speak. So
Right.
it wasn't like, oh, you have to, or you automatically it comes, okay,
Yes. So
it's
everyone
yeah,
participates and everyone
exactly.
has a task and
Yeah,
everyone participates. So
yeah,
it sounds from what you're saying and your body language is telling me this has been quite an exciting and
yeah.
deep experience. So How will participating in this virtual exchange impact or change how you teach when you go, if you go back to India to teach?
Yeah,
What are
yeah.
you going to take with you from this experience?
I know there are few programs like, BIPs, blended intensive
Yes,
programs, right? S- But we don't have that in India. And everybody is not like, we don't have that fundings or whatever it is, like students are participating in virtual exchange and then coming to the other country. So, and everybody is not rich enough to, go abroad.
that's right.
But
Yes.
these virtual exchanges, when I have like that experience, like uh, quite a times, I realized how important is it to include first global competence in teacher education if you really want students to go out in this globalized world. So first we need to educate teachers, so there's teacher training should be there for that. And then once teachers are trained enough, like they are equipped, and we include this component in their education, then we can start virtual exchange between different states of India first.
Mm,
Because India, like, if I talk about India, it's like multi-language, multicultural. So we
absolutely.
can start there first. But yeah, when we are introducing this, we make sure that it's not just about getting that experience, giving that experience to students, but make sure you achieve the learning outcomes as well. So sometimes virtual exchange gives you, okay, so you got good experience. I met so many Spanish people or, from different countries, but then where's the learning outcome?
Mm.
So we have to design virtual exchange in that way that we know that our students are achieving the learning outcomes that are there designed for the lesson. And that was very much sure in our case, because that was one of the viva questions for our masters, the program that was designed.
You talked about global competencies and the importance of future teachers having global competencies because the world is
Yeah.
globalized and there's
Yeah.
no getting away from that. You were telling me before this interview about your current project with Turkey
Mhm.
addressing global competencies. Tell us briefly a bit about this project and what you're doing in this global competencies virtual exchange.
This project is like four synchronous session and one with a 1 week break in between. Like, so we will have one class, and then there's full 1 week to complete the tasks. And then in this session I realized how important it is first to train teachers to, because even though we think that we are living in 21st century and everybody has this knowledge of digital skills, no, no, it's like, we think that they have, but they don't have
They
actually.
don't.
Because in some countries, if we compare global north and global south, there are so many issues, like that sometimes they don't have electricity, they don't have internet, they don't know how to use these resources that they have. And above all, if we want to introduce this global competence as a component in their education, first we need to fix these issues. How we gonna, train teachers if they don't know how to access and if they don't have access to these resources? When I see here in global north, people have like resources and digital resources. They don't have these issues. But when I look at my country, so many parts of the world they face these issues. Yeah.
So let me ask you this then. A virtual exchange is, in theory, about inclusivity and
Yeah.
equality and everything, but you're talking about already inequalities in, in the global north. We're more likely to have
Yeah.
electricity, strong Wi-Fi, and when you compare that to your country, it's very, very different. So can virtual exchange really be an equality oriented space, or does that concept need to be challenged as well?
Well, I suggested one thing when we were having this virtual exchange the second time when I involved as an e-mediator. Uh, when every part of the world was, you know, during the lockdown, they were just closed, right? And so everyone was so hurried to go back to the education through Zoom, and then they were like they don't know how to use Zoom or Teams or anything. But then there was something called pre-testing, right? So like in our school, what we did, like we had like 10 to 15 minute session to make sure that everyone knows how the actual classes are going to be. So maybe in virtual exchange we can also do that, like pre-testing of this platform,
Yes.
and make sure that it is accessible to everyone, like video captions, transcribing, or if they need some presentation slides before the virtual exchange. Since my project is about people with disabilities, so I think that way as well. This
Right.
is this virtual exchange is inclusive, but we can work out on these challenges, like time differences and so many other things, right? But the thing is, how institutions approach it. Look, teachers are so interested and enthusiastic of, embracing things. But then it comes to the institutions as well. Do they
Mm.
have enough financial support, or do they support you to bring change into academics, or they just want to stick into traditional methods? So, yeah, it is inclusive. It is inclusive.
It is inclusive, but when you go back and if you pick up teaching again
Yeah.
in India, you were saying, oh, we don't have this in India and we don't have funding and everything. It
Yeah.
sounds to me like you've got a big task on your hands when you
Yes,
get
yes,
back.
yes. Because the mindset is like for teachers, or some teachers, they just want, okay, my students to get good marks. That's it.
Yes.
But do they really learn, or they're just
Yes.
memorizing it for just exams? But even some students, if I talk about my experience, few students there in virtual exchange were like, what's the point of this virtual exchange? So how to, just go there
Change this
and train them?
mindset.
We have to
Yeah.
raise an
Yeah.
awareness, like this is important. Like, why? Because if we are saying, oh, the world is globalized village, and we are culturally competent, we have to be,
Yes.
and so many other issues there, right?
Yes.
So yeah,
So
so
yes,
these are mediums.
yes, because in a way what you're trying to, they're very task focused and they need
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
these marks and everything, but actually what you're saying is it's also important to make space, another third space, for relationship building and just understanding, having that intercultural experience and understanding
yeah,
different perspectives, and that's going to be quite challenging to
yeah,
transmit to your peers
yeah,
in
yeah,
India,
sure.
isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because
But
it will be
before,
like, oh, another task, another, like, we have to work on it, like, oh, lesson plan, then so many other things, then they have,
yes,
but we have to really get out of our comfort zone, right? If we really want to bring change in anything, sometimes we have to step out of our comfort zone. And I honestly, after coming to UK here, I started thinking about like the things that I have never thought before,
right.
because I have been now like got exposures of virtual exchange, like telecollaboration, and people from different countries here. And then I'm like, oh, it feels uncomfortable at the start, but then you start thinking out of the box when
Yeah,
you meet other people and you learn from them, and then you think, oh, they're not that different that you like that you were having in your mind. So you have similarities as well if there
of
are
course.
differences, but then you enjoy it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my whole experience like with virtual exchange. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share before I let you go about what you're going to do
So
next, or when you get back, how you're going to start with all this?
no, I think it really helped me to communicate well, because earlier I was quite shy. I didn't feel that my opinion will be valued. But then I know if you have knowledge and if you get the right platform to express, it is valued and it can make change in everyone's life. But before changing everyone's life, it will bring change in your life first. So
Oh,
yeah, that native speakerism was, quite a big thing for me. I felt always uncomfortable talking in English, even though I was an English teacher in India.
yeah,
But after this virtual exchange, I felt so included and safe. I was like, oh, I can speak English. So it's not a big thing. So that really changed me, and it helped me in my PhD as well. So thank you.
Oh, Preeti, thank you so much for sharing that. I really feel very excited about your feelings of growing confidence and everything, and I feel really excited about what you're going to do next. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for this opportunity.